Hey guys, welcome aboard to the show. I would like to thank once again all of my new subscribers who have joined within the last 3 days. It is much appreciated, and I hope you continue to enjoy the show because, of course, everything is just heating up. There are quite a few points that I would like to address in this video, and please do keep in mind that this is all coming from a place of love. So nobody get offended. So there's a lot left to be desired and a lot that has been left unsaid. Now, I have gone back and I have watched Dr. Sophie Sentebale's interview quite a few times to grasp valuable points that only she can make. This video, of course, is going to cover quite a few things that I personally feel have failed to be raised, and I think they need to be raised, grasped, repeated, and emphasized. Now, the first and foremost thing that I want to talk about is the way in which she is standing up for herself. It's commendable and extremely admirable. I do believe, however, that she left quite a few things unsaid, as a lot of commentators have observed. She has held back significantly, especially in relation to Sparry. And I do believe that her reservation and her conservative answers were for the benefit of him. So, what I really want to say, first and foremost, is that Dr. Sophie Sentebale is being attacked by the British media somewhat. They are erring on the side of caution, which is a respectable position and stance to hold. And I'm not going to fault them for that. A Times article that was titled "Inside the Dysfunctional Charity Prince Harry Quit," which was basically a puff piece from the PR Sussex machine by a lady called Baron Chalker, who gave comments regarding Sophie and claimed that her leadership in the organisation led to a dictatorial style. She said she resigned in late 2024 because Sophie was taking Sentebale into a direction that she did not agree with. Now, keep in mind that this lady, of course, is 82 years old. She was serving on the board of trustees from the inception of Sentebale in 2006 with the two princes. So how much more did she really have to give? Dr. Sophie Sentebale talked about a stale culture within Sentebale that needed to be overturned. If you have a board of trustees, she essentially said, who have been serving since the inception, this is unethical and it is not the practice of a progressive, modernized charity. She said there was a culture of deep entrenchment because people had simply been in their positions for too long. And I believe we can see that with our dear Baroness Whately Chalker. But she's clearly an ally of the Sussex PR machine, and our beloved Dr. Sophie Sentebale acknowledged that as well, along with the claims of bullying, racism, misogyny, and harassment. Now, a lot of people, especially in the British media, are pretty much vilifying her for coming forward. And I have found that rather interesting to watch. It is slowly spiraling. And I believe that it has spiraled because, of course, she is a black woman in the media who's dared to speak up. Women in the media in general often have to prove themselves 12 times harder than a male counterpart. A lot of people feel sorry for Prince Harry. He was one of our most favourite royals. And so I think in this instance, amidst all of this, people want to go easy on him. Now, I did watch Lady C's video, Lady Colin Campbell, and it was recommended to me by one of my lovely subscribers who watch myself, and she of course said, what do you think of her perspective on this whole thing? Now let me just start by emphasizing this point, because in my mind there is no doubt as to why our Dr. Sophie Sentebale is speaking to the press over this very serious matter. And I personally feel as though she has an extremely valuable reasoning for doing that. Let me put it to you like this. Sentebale has 550 employees in Lesotho and Botswana combined. These people who work for the organisation are grossing quite possibly the average salary of a total of $520 per month. And the average family size in both of these countries is about 3.9 persons per household. So Dr. Sophie, my understanding is representing and has been left with the task of feeding and funding 2,000 people, keeping their jobs and livelihoods. Now people have said, let's reserve our own personal judgment and allow things to unfold. And I think that there's a lot of sensibility in that. They're erring on the side of caution regarding her roots, her origin, and of course, how she got her MBE. But if I had been left with the responsibility of feeding 2,000 people and keeping those people within their homes and their bellies full and their kids in school, because schooling in Africa is not free, which is a luxury that we enjoy in Europe, and a royal pampered prince, due to his dalliance with a very money grabbing, hungry wife like Rachel Ragland, has jeopardized that systematically these people's ability to earn a good crust to feed their children and send them to school for a period of 5 years, because of their sheer and utter selfishness and greed to film Netflix docs. I would be on the telly singing like a canary too. And she did, of course, talk about the way in which Raggedy Rachel invited our beloved Serena Williams to the polo match, which caused a commotion and a stir, and it went unannounced without any real regard for the charitable efforts that everybody is making over there. Let me get back to the video. Our beloved Lady Colin Campbell said, let's err on the side of caution in her video, and I will actually try to remember to link it beneath mine. And I do agree with her 100%. This is no slight against our beloved Lady Colin Campbell. I learn a lot from her channel, and I definitely recommend that you watch her. But let's not scrutinize her too much based upon her lineage and her bloodline. She said, let's look at her motives. Her motives could be much far worse than those of the Harkles. She could be a direct descendant, and I quote, she said, of the Robert Mugabe lineage, who are known in certain fractures out in Africa to have a vendetta against elite whites, and they want to push whites out of Africa. Now, as much as I respect this, I really don't think it's relevant here. And it didn't really land well with me as a black woman in light of what I've just said statistically. And so therefore, as a black woman, unfortunately, I've had to enter the chat. It's just not so as simplistic as that. As a dark-skinned black woman, she also continued on to say, as an elite lady like Dr. Sophie Sentebale and her age, there's no possible way she could not be a descendant of the Mugabe line. And as an elite African, she would have a harbored disdain for a woman of mixed origin who white passes. She would have a disdain for white elites running around in Africa. I found that quite confusing, because the truth of the matter is, who was sitting by Dr. Sophie Sentebale's side when she threw caution to the wind and gave this interview to Trevor Phillips on Sky News. No one less than Prince William's right-hand former trustee and aide, Mr. Ian Rawlinson. Who is Ian Rawlinson? Ian is an experienced chair, board, director, charity trustee, and strategy advisor specializing in working with boards of commercial and philanthropic organizations during periods of development or restructuring. In the philanthropic sector, Ian has held several trustee and board appointments. He served as trustee and chair of Tusk Trust and African Conservation Charity from 2002 to 2013. This trust is one of William's royal patronages. Since 2005, Prince William has been a royal patron of the organisation. Tusk is a member of the Prince's Charities Forum, which is an initiative by William and Prince Harry that was started in 2006 as a way of bringing together their charitable interests to develop synergies between the 20 or so organisations they support. And Ian Rawlinson has always been a supporter of both the princes. And so there you have it. Her reliance and dependence upon Ian Rawlinson is to essentially clean up the mess that Prince Harry started. Now, the truth of the matter is that Dr. Sophie has been very eloquent during this difficult time, and she was very elegant and concise and clear while being questioned adequately by Trevor Phillips. And I commend both of them because Trevor Phillips gave a fantastic cross-questioning, thorough interview. He asked all the hard questions that everybody wanted to hear. So they both done a good job. But in return, she was unscripted, unrehearsed, and she gave us the answers that we needed. Now, Dr. Sophie Sentebale, without losing the point of this video, could quite easily quit and walk away at any point. She has received many numerous industry awards and has been featured in publications such as the Financial Times, the Washington Post, the Sunday Times, Harper's Bazaar, the Telegraph, Management Today, The Lawyer, Legal Week, HR Director, and Brunel. And of course, we all know that in 2021, I correct myself from my previous post where I said 2023, Sophie was honoured by Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II and awarded an MBE for extraordinary services to business so she could quit at any given moment. But let me get back to another point that Lady Colin Campbell made as a Jamaican woman who was born in Jamaica. And I do love Lady C, and I would very much love to talk to her. But as an Afro-Caribbean woman myself, I have a very strong grasp on how things work, also in the Black community, especially being of a dark skin tone. And what I will say is this. She said that Rachel Meghan Markle would have heard disparaging comments at the polo matches, especially from the elite African women. They would have been quite snide and mocking towards her in so many words. I don't want to misquote Lady C, but she said they would have frowned upon her for white passing as she has. She also said that there is a cultural difference between those from the Afro-Caribbean descent and those who are born directly in Africa. And I 110% agree with that. There is and has been in the past, I will emphasize, maybe in her time when she was a younger lady, a culture of Africans, pure-blooded, who feel as though they are far superior to those who are direct descendants of slavery, like myself ancestrally, because their blood is pure and they, of course, have not had their lineage disturbed. They would have felt as though they are better. And I do remember recalling instances when I was extremely young, whereby we would have these discussions and conversations, and some Africans in the past, this is definitely not today, felt as though we were slave babies. Now, of course, these people were, uneducated and uncouth, but there was that sentiment. But let me add this to the chat. It works both ways. You see, in the Caribbean, as Lady Colin Campbell is fully aware, there are a lot of people who aspire to whiteness. They aspire to have green eyes, blue eyes, straight hair, loose curls, fair skin tones, like Meghan Markle. And if you look at the Sugars, essentially comprises of women who have aspirations to emulate and have children like Meghan Markle, at least those who reflect her. They aspire to have her life. They are the only supporters that she has. And I'm going to insert some pictures into this post, which you can peruse. There is a strong, heavy culture. It's not everybody. I would not say that it's every single dark skinned black woman that you see who aspires to marry a white man, have a white husband, and have mixed children. But there are enough for me to talk about. This also happens in the African community. So they believe, a lot of these women, even some women who are direct descendants of slavery, they take pride in the fact that they are not pure blooded, that they are mixed, mulatto, whatever you want to call it. And it is an epidemic, especially on my father's side. You see, I'm part Haitian. And if you read into the history of Haiti, you will see how bad colorism is and can be, and what has happened on the island. Now, if you research the terminology parsley massacre, it basically involves the division between Haiti and the Dominican Republic, which is an island that has been divided between the French, or at least was divided by the French and the Spanish. Now, under the presidency of a ruthless dictator called Trujillo, and I'm going way, 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 way back in this video, there was such a day whereby essentially the Spaniards, or should I say the direct descendants of Spanish colonialism and slavery, wanted to rid themselves of the stains of their African roots and the Africans of the island. Now, Haitians are typically dark and not as mixed. There's a whole story and spiel behind that. I will not add that to this video because we could be here forever. But they murdered, in no uncertain terms, all of those who looked African and had dark skin. There are large parts of Latin America where colonialism and slavery has occurred too, especially in Brazil, where blacks are treated abhorrently, especially the more African and darker they are. There is a lot of pride in the Afro-Caribbean community for some fractures in being and looking white. So it works both ways, Lady C. She herself, of course, is of a very extremely fair skin tone. She has black roots, which she's emphasized multiple times. But she, of course, wouldn't be aware of these nuances as much as a dark skinned black woman like myself would be. But as I said, this is all love. So Meghan Sugars, of course, are comprised mainly of African dark skinned women. They are, under no uncertain terms, lovers of Meghan. I've been thrown under the bus by the Sugars, by women who should be acting on my behalf as sisters. I've had my car vandalized. I've had my life somewhat ruined because of the Sugars, and they look like me. Meghan had the full support of Sophie Sentebale, and I do not believe for a second that she is throwing her to the wolves, so to speak, because of her origin. She is goals for a lot of elite women and Afro-Caribbean women and elite African women. She's goals.
At what point is she a monster? She kicking puppies? What has she done? Like,
Why are
what
they so
that
mad?
part?
Why are
Like,
they
how can
so
you be
mad?
so mad at a stranger? Like, people, it's just like, and so I just kept watching because I'm like, I'm gonna get down to the bottom of why people hate her. You know what I'm saying? Because it's got to be something. But all I see is light around her. And then I finally got it. I finally got it. It's her light and her happiness. She is genuinely happy.
Yeah,
It comes through her pores. It's
yeah.
light all around her. And when you evil and live in the darkness, it's like poison.
She
It's like
is.
poison. It's
She is
everything she represents.
absolutely.
And she is living the American dream. And they want it back.
They
They
want it
want
back.
to take that dream back from her because it was never meant for her in the first place. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what it's really about.
What isn't goals, of course, is her personality. And that's the real issue here. But I don't care how Dr. Sophie Sentebale reached her conclusion upon this. What I really care about is those 550 families who are reliant on the income from Sentebale. And I do urge those who are watching this to not only watch this and enjoy it, but recognize there are lives at stake here. And if you support this channel and you like this channel, do not forget to subscribe and drop me a coffee if you're feeling generous. But the main thing that I would like you to do amidst all of this is to remember that Sentebale still very much needs our support. So I will put in my description links to the Sentebale website and all of their fundraising pages, because I feel as though a lot of people have lost that. Remember those children who have been relying on that income, which has been put at risk and jeopardized by the Montecito duo. So, with all that being said, guys, I'll be back with another one. Bye.